The Haunting of the Rhode Island Farmhouse, the Perron family case. This is the famous true story that inspired the movie The Conjuring. It details the horrific experiences of the Perron family in the 1970s at their newly purchased farmhouse in Harrisville, Rhode Island. The move-in. In 1971, Roger and Carolyn Perron, along with their 5 daughters, Andrea, Nancy, Christine, Cindy, and April, moved into the 18th century old Arnold estate. The farmhouse was a vast, rambling structure with 14 rooms and had a dark history of tragic deaths, including suicides, murders, and unexplained accidents, spanning over 8 generations of ownership. Initially, the experiences were benign. The girls often saw hazy, ghostly figures floating around the house. They frequently encountered a spirit they nicknamed Manny, an older man who was mostly harmless. They even claimed the spirits of children were playing hide and seek with them. Escalation and the main entity. The fun quickly turned to terror when the entity they called Bathsheba began to focus her attention on Carolyn Perron. Local lore claimed that Bathsheba Sherman, who lived on the property in the mid-1800s, was a devil worshipper who had allegedly killed her infant child as a sacrifice. When she died, she supposedly cursed the property, stating that she would forever torment any woman who tried to take her place in the house. The paranormal attacks against Carolyn became intensely personal and physical. Smell of decay. Carolyn frequently described a sudden sickening smell of rotting flesh whenever Bathsheba was near. Physical attack. One night, Carolyn was lying in bed when she felt a sharp pain in her calf. She looked down and saw a puncture wound, like a large sewing needle had been forced into her skin. Waking attacks. The family would often hear loud, aggressive banging and scratching sounds coming from inside the walls, immediately followed by Carolyn screaming from the kitchen or bedroom. The terrors of the daughters. The daughters also experienced extreme trauma. Christine's vision. One of the girls, Christine, woke up one night to see a ghostly woman with a distorted, rotting face standing by her bed. The entity whispered, "There are 7 dead soldiers buried in the wall." April's encounter. The youngest daughter, April, saw the ghost of a little girl, possibly one of the property's deceased former residents, weeping silently in the attic. The levitating bed. The daughters often reported seeing their bed shake violently or feeling an unseen force pulling at their hair and legs while they slept. The Warren investigation. Desperate for help, Roger and Carolyn Perron contacted the famed paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren. The Warrens conducted several investigations, confirming the severe nature of the haunting and believing Bathsheba Sherman's spirit was the key aggressive force. During one seance conducted by the Warrens, the entity apparently possessed Carolyn. She began to speak in a strange language, her voice contorted, and her body was thrown violently across the room. Roger, terrified for his wife's life and safety, ordered the Warrens to leave, afraid the investigation was only making the haunting worse. The Perron family lived in the house for 10 years. They were financially unable to move out despite the horrors they faced daily. They finally managed to sell the house in 1980 and moved away, claiming that the moment they drove off the property, they felt the overwhelming oppressive darkness lift from their lives.